Most gardeners assume December means the growing season is over, especially if all they have is a tiny patio or a few containers. But that could not be further from the truth. After 3 decades of growing food in small spaces, I can tell you December is one of the most underrated months for productive gardening. Today I am walking you through 20 crops that thrive in tight quarters this time of year. Stick around for number 17, and do not miss the bonus tip at the end. The first December crop perfect for tiny gardens is indoor microgreens grown in shallow trays. This is hands down the fastest way to get fresh greens on your plate when the weather outside makes traditional gardening impossible. All you need is a sunny windowsill or a simple grow light, a shallow tray, and some seeds. A spicy microgreen mix combining broccoli, radish, and sunflower seeds is an excellent place to start. Scatter the seeds densely across a thin layer of moist potting mix, mist them daily, and you will be harvesting tender, nutrient-packed greens in just 7 to 14 days. The beauty of microgreens is that they work in every single zone, because you are growing them indoors. Even a studio apartment with one window can produce a rotating supply of fresh salad greens all December long. Once you harvest one tray, immediately start another, and you will never run out. The second crop that deserves a spot in your December garden is pea shoots grown in pots. These tender, sweet greens are incredibly easy to produce and surprisingly prolific for how little space they require. You can use any dried soup peas from the grocery store or grab a packet of Oregon sugar pod seeds and sow them densely in a pot or shallow tray. Keep them indoors on a bright windowsill, or, if you are in zones 7 through 10, an unheated greenhouse works beautifully. Within 8 to 14 days, you will have lush shoots ready to snip. Here is the best part. Pea shoots regrow after you cut them. One planting can give you 2 or even 3 harvests before the plants are exhausted. That means a single pot tucked into a corner of your kitchen can pump out impressive volumes of tender greens throughout the month. They taste wonderful in salads, stir-fries, or simply piled on top of a sandwich. The third productive December crop is overwintered spinach grown in containers or cold frames. Spinach is one of the toughest winter greens you can grow, surviving temperatures down to around 0 degrees Fahrenheit when given a bit of protection. Varieties like Giant Winter and Bloomsdale Longstanding are specifically bred for cold weather performance. If you are gardening in zones 3 through 5, a simple cold frame or a heavy row cover is essential. Gardeners in zones 6 through 9 can often get away with lighter protection, or even none at all during mild spells. The key to December spinach is that you are not starting from seed right now. These are plants you established in fall that are now sitting there, ready to give you repeated cut and come again harvest from a remarkably small footprint. Just snip the outer leaves, let the center continue growing, and you will be picking fresh spinach for weeks. A single container can keep your winter salads going strong. Now, if you're finding this video helpful so far, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps this video reach more gardeners like yourself who would also find this information helpful. All right, let's continue. The fourth crop that belongs in your December tiny garden is dwarf curly kale grown in pots. Kale is legendary for its cold tolerance, and established plants can handle temperatures down to 10 or even 20 degrees Fahrenheit without missing a beat. In fact, a good frost actually makes the leaves sweeter as the plant converts starches to sugars to protect itself from the cold. Varieties like Winterbore and Red Russian are excellent choices for container growing. If you are in zones 4 through 9, your kale should sail through December with minimal fuss. Zone 3, gardeners will want heavy protection like a cold frame or thick mulch around the pot. The secret to keeping kale productive is continuous leaf picking. Harvest the outer leaves regularly while leaving the central growing point intact, and the plant will keep generating new foliage for weeks. A few large containers of kale, can realistically feed a household all month long. The leaves are perfect for soups, stews, sautés, or even massaged raw in winter salads. The 5th December crop ideal for small spaces is a winter lettuce mix grown in window boxes or cold frames. Most people think lettuce is a spring and fall crop, but winter-bred varieties like Winter Marvel, Tango, and North Pole are specifically developed to handle light freezes and short days. In zones 5 through 9, these lettuces can grow outdoors with just a layer of row cover or the protection of a cold frame. Gardeners in zones 3 and 4 will need more substantial cover, but can absolutely keep lettuce going. Window boxes along a balcony rail or shallow containers on a patio are perfect for these compact plants. The loose-leaf types are especially well suited to cut and come again harvesting, meaning you snip what you need for a salad and let the rest keep growing. Every few days you can return for another harvest. This approach stretches your planting incredibly far and makes even a tiny balcony a legitimate source of fresh December. The 7th productive crop for December tiny gardens is an Asian greens mix grown in troughs. This category includes fast-growing, cold-tolerant plants like tatsoi, mizuna, and pak choi, all of which love cool weather and perform wonderfully in narrow containers. Cold-tolerant strains of mizuna and tatsoi are particularly reliable, handling light frosts without complaint in zones 5 through 9. Gardeners in zones 3 and 4 can keep them going under row cover or in a simple cold frame. The trick with Asian greens is to sow them thickly and harvest as baby leaves. This approach lets you cut greens every week or two from a single trough, then resow for continuous production. A balcony rail lined with a few troughs can become a surprisingly productive December salad garden. The flavors range from mild and tender to slightly peppery, and they work beautifully in salads, stir-fries, soups, and wraps. Asian greens are some of the fastest and most forgiving crops you can grow in winter. The 8th December crop worth planting in small spaces is arugula, sometimes called rocket, grown in shallow planters. Arugula is a cool season crop that actually prefers cold weather and becomes bitter and quick to bolt in summer heat. Winter's when arugula really shines. Varieties like Even Star Winter and Astro are bred for cold tolerance and can keep pumping out peppery leaves through most of the winter in zones 5 through 9. In colder zones, a layer of row cover or growing indoors near a sunny window extends the harvest. Shallow planters work perfectly because arugula has a modest root system and grows quickly from seed. You can sow a new planter every few weeks to maintain a steady supply of fresh leaves. The spicy, distinctive flavor of arugula adds character to winter salads and sandwiches when other greens might taste bland. A handful of small planters dedicated to arugula can easily keep you supplied with this flavorful green all December long. The 9th crop that earns a place in your December tiny garden is fast winter radishes grown in deep containers. Radishes are among the quickest vegetables you can grow, and certain varieties mature in as little as 3 to 4 weeks, even in cool conditions. French breakfast, cherry bell, and Easter egg are all excellent choices that handle cooler temperatures well. In zones 6 through 9, you can sow radish seeds outdoors in December and expect a harvest before the month is out or shortly after. Gardeners in zones 4 and 5 will want to grow them under cover or in a cold frame for best results. The key is using a container with enough depth, at least 8 inches, to let the roots develop properly. Radishes give you 2 harvests in one because the tops are completely edible and delicious sautéed or added to soups. A single deep pot can produce a dozen or more crisp, peppery roots, along with a generous handful of nutritious greens. Succession sowing every 2 weeks keeps fresh radishes coming, making this one of the most rewarding quick crops for winter container gardening. The 10th productive December crop is green onions, also called scallions, grown from sets or regrown bulbs. Bunching onions like evergreen hardy white are remarkably cold tolerant, overwintering outdoors in zones 5 through 10 with just a bit of mulch in the colder end of that range. They tuck neatly into tight rows, corners of raised beds, or small containers, taking up almost no horizontal space while delivering a steady supply of fresh onion greens. One of the simplest approaches is regrowing scallions from kitchen scraps. Save the root ends from store-bought green onions, plant them in a pot of soil, and they will regenerate new green tops within days. You can snip what you need and let them keep growing for repeated harvests. Winter onion sets are another excellent option, quietly establishing roots through the cold months and providing harvestable greens during any mild spell. For soups, salads, baked potatoes, and dozens of other dishes, having fresh green onions available in December is a small luxury that makes a real difference in the kitchen. The 11th crop, perfect for December. Tiny Gardens is Claytonia, commonly known as miner's lettuce, grown in patio pots. This charming little plant is extremely cold-hardy and was historically eaten by miners during the California gold rush to prevent scurvy. It thrives in zones 6 through 9 as a perennial and grows as a self-sowing annual in zones 4 and 5. Claytonia perfoliata is the variety you will most often find, and it produces distinctive round leaves with delicate stems that look almost like tiny lily pads. The flavor is mild and refreshing, similar to spinach, but with a slightly succulent texture. Miner's lettuce grows happily in shallow containers and can be harvested from October right through early spring in many climates. It tolerates shade better than most salad greens, making it ideal for patios or balconies that do not get full sun. Simply pick the outer leaves and let the plant continue producing, or harvest entire rosettes and allow new ones to form. Claytonia is one of those overlooked gems that deserves far more attention from winter gardeners. The 12th December crop suited to small spaces is Swiss chard, grown in containers. Chard is often grouped with winter greens because it handles moderate freezes surprisingly well, bouncing back from cold snaps that would flatten more tender crops. Varieties like Bright Lights and Ford Hook Giant are popular choices, offering both beauty and productivity. Bright Lights in particular adds stunning color to a winter patio with its rainbow of stem colors including red, orange, yellow, and pink. In zones 6 through 9, chard can remain productive outdoors through December with minimal protection. Zone 5 gardeners will want to add row cover or move containers to a sheltered spot. A single large pot of chard can generate an impressive volume of leaves over the course of the month. Harvest by cutting the outer stalks at the base while leaving the inner leaves to continue growing. The leaves are wonderful sautéed with garlic, added to soups, or used as a substitute for spinach in almost any recipe. Chard is a generous plant that rewards small space gardeners with big, reliable harvests. The 13th productive crop for your December garden is Perpetual spinach, also called leaf beet, grown in pots. Despite the name, Perpetual spinach is actually a type of chard bred specifically for maximum leaf production rather than colorful stems. It shares chard's cold hardiness, surviving moderate freezes in zones 6 through 9 and handling zone 5 conditions with some protection. The leaves taste remarkably similar to true spinach, but come from a plant that is much easier to grow and far less prone to bolting. Perpetual spinach was developed for cut and come-again harvesting, meaning you can snip leaves repeatedly from the same plant over many weeks. A few containers of Perpetual spinach can supply a household with cooking greens throughout December. The leaves are excellent in quiches, pasta dishes, soups, and anywhere you would normally use spinach or chard. Because it keeps producing without needing to be replanted, Perpetual spinach is one of the most efficient crops you can grow in a small winter garden. It quietly delivers harvest after harvest with very little fuss. The 14th crop that works beautifully in December, Tiny Gardens, is flat-leaf parsley grown in window boxes. Parsley is a hardy biennial that handles cold far better than most people realize, often listed among the key winter greens by experienced gardeners. The variety Gigante d'Italia is a standout choice. producing large, flavorful leaves on vigorous plants that keep going through surprisingly cold weather. In zones 5 through 9, parsley remains productive outdoors through December, especially when planted in a sheltered window box against a south-facing wall. Zone 4 gardeners can extend the harvest with mulch around the base and a layer of row cover during the coldest nights. A densely planted window box can supply fresh parsley sprigs all month long, giving you that bright herbal flavor for soups, sauces, salads, and roasted vegetables. Unlike dried parsley, which loses most of its flavor, fresh-picked leaves make a noticeable difference in winter cooking. Harvest by snipping outer stems at the base, allowing the center of the plant to keep generating new growth. Parsley asks for very little. Care once established and rewards you with months of reliable harvests from a tiny footprint. The 15th December crop ideal for small spaces is cilantro, also called coriander, grown in troughs. Cilantro is a cool season herb that actually struggles in summer heat but thrives when temperatures drop. Fall-sown plants often stay productive well into December, especially in mild climates or protected growing situations. Varieties like Slowbolt and Calypso are bred to resist flowering longer, extending your leaf harvest. In zones 5 through 9, cilantro can keep producing outdoors with minimal protection, and gardeners in colder zones can grow it successfully under cover or on a bright indoor windowsill. Narrow troughs and window boxes are perfect for cilantro because you can sow seeds densely and harvest young leaves as needed. The fresh, distinctive flavor is essential for salsas, Asian dishes, and countless other recipes. And having it available in December feels like a small luxury. Belongs in your December small space garden is garlic planted in grow bags or small beds. Garlic has been planted in late fall and early winter for centuries, and December is an ideal time to get cloves in the ground, particularly in zones 8 through 10. Gardeners in colder zones typically plant in October or November, but even zone 6 and 7 growers can still tuck in cloves during a mild December spell. For cold climates, hardneck varieties like Music are excellent choices, while softneck types like California Early and Silver Rose perform beautifully in warmer regions. The magic of garlic is that a single clove transforms into a full bulb by summer, making it one of the most space-efficient crops you can grow. Even a small grow bag planted with a dozen cloves will yield a generous harvest of homegrown garlic that tastes far superior to anything from the grocery store. Once planted, garlic needs almost no attention through winter. The cloves quietly develop roots beneath the soil, then explode into growth when spring arrives. This is the ultimate set it and forget it. December planning for tiny gardens. The 18th December crop perfect for small spaces is overwintering onions grown from sets in pots or beds. Unlike spring-planted onions that take most of the year to mature, overwintering varieties like Radar and Red Baron are specifically bred to be planted in late fall or early winter and harvested as full bulbs by late spring. This gives you a significant head start on the growing season and frees up space for summer crops sooner. In zones 6 through 9, these onion sets can go directly into containers or tight bed spaces in December. Gardeners in zones 4 and 5 can succeed with row cover or cold frame protection. Simply push the sets into the soil with the pointed end up, spacing them a few inches apart, and let them settle in for winter. The onions will quietly bulk up their root systems during the cold months, then rapidly size up when temperatures warm. But by late spring, you will be pulling full-sized onions from spaces that would otherwise sit empty all winter. Overwintering onions are a brilliant way to maximize productivity from even the smallest December garden. The 19th crop that deserves a place in your December tiny garden is fava beans grown in deep containers. Fava beans, sometimes called broad beans, are a traditional winter crop in mild climates, and December sowing is perfectly timed in zones 7 through 9. Gardeners in zones 5 and 6 can also succeed with some protection from a cold frame or heavy row cover. The variety Aqua Dulce is a long pod type specifically bred for autumn and winter planting, handling cold weather that would destroy other beans. The strategy here is simple. Sow the large seeds in deep containers, at least 12 inches deep to accommodate the roots, and let them establish over winter. The plants develop strong root systems during the cold months while making modest top growth. Then, when spring arrives, they explode into vigorous growth and produce heavy yields of delicious pods. Just a few plants in a single tub can generate an impressive harvest. Fava beans also fix nitrogen in the soil, improving fertility for whatever you plant next. The beans themselves are creamy, nutty, and wonderful in pasta, dips, and simply sautéed with garlic. December planted favas are a smart investment that pays off handsomely in spring. The 20th and final crop on our list is perennial sorrel grown in pots. Sorrel is a wonderfully cold-tolerant, leafy green that most gardeners have never tried, which is a shame because it offers something no other winter green can match. The leaves have a bright, tangy, lemony flavor that cuts through the heaviness of winter dishes and wakes up the palate. French sorrel, known as Rumex scutatus, and broadleaf sorrel are both excellent choices for container growing. Hardy in zones 4 through 8, sorrel handles winter cold without flinching and can be harvested during any mild spell when the leaves are not frozen solid. A compact clump in a patio container will come back year after year, asking for almost nothing in return. The leaves are delicious in salads, soups, sauces, and egg dishes. Classic French sorrel soup is a revelation if you have never tried it. Because sorrel is perennial, one planting gives you harvest for many years to come. Simply pick the outer leaves as needed and let the plant keep growing. For a low-maintenance, high-flavor addition to your December garden, perennial sorrel is hard to beat. And now for the bonus tip gardeners swear by. If you want to dramatically extend the productivity of almost every crop on this list, invest in a simple soil thermometer. Most gardeners focus on air temperature, but soil temperature is what really matters for root development and nutrient uptake during winter. When soil temperatures drop below about 40 degrees Fahrenheit, most plants essentially stop growing, even if the air warms up during the day. A soil thermometer lets you know exactly what is happening beneath the surface. On cold nights, you can add an extra layer of mulch or move containers to a sheltered spot. On sunny days, you can pull back covers to let the soil absorb heat. This simple tool takes the guesswork out of winter gardening and helps you make smart decisions that keep your plants productive. Experienced gardeners know that managing soil temperature is the secret to harvesting fresh food in December, when everyone else assumes the season is over. Thanks for sticking with me through the entire video. If you found this helpful, give it a like, subscribe for more gardening tips, and check out our other videos on growing a better garden.